125 years, we have grown as a multi-business company, okay? And so if you're a multi-business company, what brings you together? Management then becomes, in GE, a study of what brings you together. You know, what brings an NBC and plastics together? What brings a plastics and power systems together? What brings medical and financial systems together? Financial system, you know, the operating model, operating rigor, you know, balance sheet, cash flow generation. It's a set of leading businesses, but as much as anything, it's a culture and people. I spent 2 years at your school studying why conglomerates were stupid, you know. The one thing they miss is the fact that when you build a culture and a set of values, you can create a difference. You can create real value added across a multiple set of businesses, and that's something that we truly believe in here. And so my contention is if you're in a multi-business company, people has to be a core competency. It has to be a big part of your operating model, and it is in GE. You know, that's how we do things. Now, the point on people is, in order to run an effective multi-business company, you can't do it unless you're totally committed to career development, recruiting, hiring, retaining the world's best people. My contention is that I've got better people in our medical business. I've got better people in our plastics business. I've got better people in our financial service business because they see more. Because they see more. Joe Hogan, running GE Medical, has spent half of his career outside the U.S. He's been in 3 different businesses. He understands both the application of technology and how it's sold. He knows more than any of his competitors about the financial model of the healthcare industry because we have a healthcare finance business that Siemens and Philips and his competitors don't have. So by the time he's running GE Medical, he's seen more, he's done more. He's got a better domain knowledge than any of his competitors because of what gets shared across GE. And he can just lead those businesses better. It's just a fact. The times when I thought about leaving GE weren't when it was tough. It was when I was getting bored. And so for your senior leaders, it can never feel stale. They got to feel like the company's getting better, that their ideas count, that their views are important, and that's critical. We spend almost $1 billion a year in training. We, you know, spend 30 or 40% of my time, all of Bill's time, a lot of our leadership time, coaching, nurturing, developing people. There's nobody that makes senior executive band in GE without my approval. So I've got to spend time with everybody. I know most of them, but occasionally there'll be people from the outside. They all have to come through my office. And we feel very good about being able to move people from business to business and from job to job inside that band, you know. And look, if I could do it for 5,000, I'd do it for 5,000. I just don't have enough time. But 600, you can do reasonably well. The most important part about Session C is the discussion of the 600 people. So really, beginning, it's a leadership discussion. So when I go to Atlanta, the power systems in Atlanta, and let's say that business of the 600 might have 50, okay? The very first thing we do is review that 50. We'll review how they're doing, who's doing well, who's doing poorly, and we're probably tougher on performance management high up in the company. I mean, we eat our own cooking. We talk about performance management. It's not for the rank and file, it's for everybody. So we talk about performance management of the top, of those 50 people, where they fit, what they're doing, who should get promoted, who's tapped out, who needs coaching, who needs new assignment. And then we get into initiatives. But it is a leadership discussion. We come out of there with a very clear view of the top leaders of the company and where they're going. Before every board meeting, we review every salary action that's going to be taken on that top 600 people. So we have another way to discuss the top 600. Then whenever we do stock options, we have another way to review that top 600. Whenever we do variable incentive comp, we get another way to review that top 600. When I go to a field swing and see a couple people, we get another way. I mean, everything we do is a performance review of some kind. Every touch point becomes a way to talk about that set of people. Now the officers, there's 175 officers. I treat that very much like a partnership. Look, I pore over these people, and I think about every day, where they would fit on a 9 block, what they can do, who needs to go someplace soon, and I'm looking at that list once a week, maybe. I mean, I'm thinking about this group each and every day. It is the lifeblood of this company, is the top 175 officers. And then the SEBs, what I'm typically thinking about is who can make officer, who's performing, is the compensation right, are we retaining? I look at retention, unforced turnover. When a good person leaves, somebody that doesn't leave that's on our screen, we pour over why, what happened, what could we have done better, differently. So we are very, high touch and very specific. We don't talk about it in aggregate. We talk about it name by name. It's why whenever we do a session C, I'm grading both the people and the manager. Whenever I go out to review a business, if I go to Power Systems with John Rice and his team, and I'll sit and look through 100 internal resumes and stuff like that, I'm not only looking at the people and assessing where they can go, but I'm grading John and his leader. How well do they give feedback? What's the process for giving feedback? Is he good at picking people? Is he good at taking tough action? So it's a two-tiered grade, that you want to give to make sure that the system is working well enough down in the organization.
As far as the vitality curve is concerned, people say that's Darwinian, somewhat cruel. I say not practicing it is false kindness. If I wrote my book again, I would have spent a chapter in front of the vitality curve talking about the need to have 3, 4 years, 5 years of candid appraisals before you act on them. Because appraisals in 90% of the companies that will see this tape are phony. Totally phony. They'll say everything's fine, person's growing, and the managers will go home saying, what a nice manager I am, until trouble comes. If you have a system of candor, and if you spend a lot of time on the human resource process, and people know where they stand, you don't have any problem with these systems. Reward the top 20, hug them, kiss them, pay them, make sure they can never be lost. The middle 70. Every one of them is vital to our business. Let's see if they can get to the top 20. Let's give half of them options, but not every year. See how they're doing. Every year if they're at the top of that spectrum, not every year if they're not. And the bottom 10, tell them they're there, and tell them early, because they will then have the option of going somewhere where they won't be in the bottom 10. And let me tell you, it sounds like they get fired. 70 to 80% of them find a job on their own. Who wants to be in a place where they're perceived as the bottom 10%? They pack up, go on to a new career, do very well, as long as they've been treated fairly and openly and candidly.
Session C has existed for more than 50 years. It predated Jack. I think Jack brought some life to it, but it predated all of us in this company. So we've been giving people feedback for decades. It didn't just happen yesterday. Again, I'm looking for real feedback. In other words, if somebody writes on an EMS, Bill's impatient, that's not feedback. That's bullshit. I'm looking for things that are driving real skill development. This person, John, needs to really work on the way that he communicates because he doesn't listen very well. I'm looking for those things that really flip an on and off switch to make somebody better going into the future. And so, I think what performance management is it's the conclusion of giving people feedback in terms of where they stand inside the company. The top 20, you're always going to have a top 20 of people that are excelling and that you need to make sure that they're retained, promotions are going well. We rely heavily on people in the middle of this company their experience, their drive, things like that are extremely important in GE. And the bottom 10 is not meant to be cruel. It's meant to say it doesn't work for everybody, that there's times where people have to deal with honesty and performance and go someplace else.
You're asking